Skip. Gerard Lecomte twitched impatiently as a tiny octogenarian woman attempted to navigate through the subway turnstile. His dirty blonde hair, styled into a satiny mid-60s mop, bounced glamorously with each headshake of silent protest. He was teetering on blurting out his frustration. The lady, no taller than a child, first struggled with her card to activate the turnstile. Then her grimy raincoat became entangled in the metal arm of the gate. Late for a meeting with a potential business manager, Gerard had already been jumping out of his skin before encountering the roadblock. "Holding in anger gives you cancer," he fretted, but there was nothing to be done. Badgering old ladies in the subway would win no friends in New York City. Once through the turnstile, he bolted downstairs to the Q platform. Shifting restlessly from one muscled leg to the other, he whispered a mantra to quell stress and rally enthusiasm. He'd been playing bass in Le Grand Scam to growing nightclub crowds for 2 years, but the group was going nowhere without management. Finally, Will Vesco, an established artist representative, had agreed to a meeting. Now he was unfashionably late. The N train came through, then the R. Neither would do. He needed the Q Express to make up time. "Merde," he muttered. Heavily hooded eyelids framing the top of a Gallic nose somehow made Gerard appear sleepy, but friends knew him to become as taut as an exercise band under pressure. When the express pulled in, he positioned himself by the door and bolted in first, snatching the only available seat ahead of a frowsy older fellow in a tattered cloth overcoat. Pretending not to notice his rival for the seat, Gerard stared out the window, hypnotically taking in the tiny white lights whizzing by in the dark tunnel. Repetitive motion distracted him from his watch. "Still taking the subway to go kiss rings. Can't even afford a cab. We've paid the dues. We're masters of our craft. But the imbeciles in suits don't appreciate that." Snarkiness aside, he could still envision the top of the mountain beyond his bitterness. He was a sensitive guy in a tough racket who had no illusions, but Gerard was no quitter. He recalled the rejection from Kiss Me Records, the label he'd dreamed of calling home one day while still cutting his teeth in the Paris clubs. He thought of last year's near miss landing a tune in the soundtrack of the new Cronenberg film. In his mid-30s now, he was no longer the young Turk with time to burn. At Union Square, a dozen or so young 20-somethings entered the car yakking en masse. "You really believe that BS? That's not what Professor Cameron thinks." "Rasha, check out Jimmy's tweet. Unbelievable." "You call that music? I don't think it meets the dictionary definition. Seriously, can we discuss anything without analyzing it to death?" Bearcat caps, plaid shirts, and skinny jeans artfully adorned the posse, accentuating whatever passable physical assets the wearers may have possessed. Carefully sculpted, sloppy hair, and black leather brand-name jackets, once signifying danger but now reflecting popular consumer style, identified the pack as well-heeled students, probably a class. Their conversations generated a low-grade hum, washing through the car like a red tide. Now and then one would seize the car's attention with a performative cackle. High schoolers could be noisier, but this group was disrupting their fellow passengers' unspoken collective effort to ignore each other. Gerard zeroed in on 2 young women in the group with severely shorn locks and no makeup engaging in fervent conversation. Envying their urgency, he wondered what topic might be sparking their ardor. A boy? Each other? To their left was an awkward classmate couple enmeshed in a soft waist clinch. The young man's spotty beard failed to camouflage a weak chin, his sweetheart's army jacket draped an over-ripened pear shape. Their faces periodically darted together for nose nuzzles and fleeting lip brushes. Mosh. His mind refocused on his mission. "This is our year. I'm not leaving today without some information at least to push us forward. No one can stop us." A stilted, high-pitched voice crept into his awareness, distracting him from his mantra. That may be, Anthony, but I'd wager my weight in gold bullion that Kanye West ultimately will not be remembered with the same literary reverence as James McBride. It wasn't loud, but the voice's nasal treble quality sliced through the surrounding din like a bowie knife. Gerard's nose crinkled with disdain. Kanye West, laissez-moi rire. Nah, Skip, responded a younger voice, which he saw belonged to a wiry fellow with orange-dyed cropped hair and gold earrings. You don't recognize the rhythm of this language. It's not high language, so it's not credible to you. On the contrary, returned the twang, still obstructed from view. Few men my age, or dare I say, of my ethno-cultural background, have greater appreciation for the passion or cadence of a truly slammin' rhyme. Leaning forward to identify the speaker, Gerard spotted the elder of the group, a short, middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses and ponytail. His open gray tweed jacket revealed a somewhat concave chest. Mildly bowed legs swayed as his weight shifted from foot to foot. Thinning hair exposed the shape of a substantial head, resembling a large pink capsicum. S'il vous plaît, he silently admonished. Not another word. Hey, Skip, chimed in a stocky Latina. Rasha thinks you're trying a little too hard with the rappreciation. Chill, man, we know you got your ears on. Please, this is not patronize old white guy day. The teacher, surmised Gerard, captive audience. I believe I've demonstrated I can hold my own, Skip continued, and her assessment of my hipness aside, I reinvite Ms. Leonard to share her take on the political subtext of the good Lord Bird. Several students chuckled collusively at the challenge to their classmate. Seriously, folks, identifying subtext is a core objective of our Urban Sound and Literature seminar this semester. I believe there's something good here to develop your capacity to sustain perspective during this culturally turbulent time. Gerard rolled his eyes. Must he lecture everyone on the train? At 34th Street, the usual mass exodus was greeted by an equally formidable influx. The gaggle of students held its ground in the sea of movement crashing around it. As the train creaked back into motion, the pundit continued in a haranguing tone, recalling panhandlers moving from car to car, soliciting donations. We are currently under the apex of the New York universe, perhaps of humanity itself, in what used to be a strip of sleazy porn theaters with hookers and dealers out front, now transformed into a soulless, Disney-fied epicenter of crass tourist commercialism. An involuntary but conspicuous snort seeped through Gerard's nose and mouth, turning some heads in the group and bringing the monologue to a momentary halt. Feeling their eyes, he felt obliged to engage. God, would you just shut up? He felt out of body, watching himself speak from some external vantage point. There are other people on the train besides you and your class or whatever it is. They may be forced to listen to every brilliant thought that comes into your head, but the rest of us didn't sign up. A wave of objection rose among the students, but Skip quelled it. Apologies, friend. I admit to enjoying the society of my profession, but didn't intend to distract others from their reverie. Why do you talk like that? Gerard continued irritably. Mon Dieu, no one talks like that. You sound like a cartoon version of yourself. Perhaps it impresses these kids, but it's less entertaining to the rest of us. Watch your mouth, Euro trash, warned a stocky student in a remodeled army jacket. We're minding our own business. You should do the same. Not one to court trouble, Gerard nonetheless drew it effortlessly. His nerves were easily tweaked. Being called out felt like a glove slap to the face. Or what? You poser punks gonna jump me on the subway, or were you planning to take care of it yourself? Hold on, interjected the teacher. Joaquin, this isn't about you. I'm up to the task of handling my own affairs, thank you. He turned back to Gerard. Sir, if you have a bone to pick with me, I'm all ears. Juvenile insults should be beneath your dignity, and I've done nothing to you. You're doing something right now, letting everyone on the train know how clever you are. Go to an open mic night and perform if you want. At least we could buy drinks to dull ourselves to the crap you're selling these kids. They're not kids. In fact, they are honor students at an institution of higher learning with which I doubt you'd be familiar. And you're the lighthouse illuminating the path to higher learning. Zut alors. Call me Skip Class, he mimicked. What the hell kind of name is Skip? Why would anyone want to be called that at your age? Skip. A bulky student in a navy tracksuit stepped toward him. That's a hell of a mouth on you. Shut it, now. Back up, James, commanded Skip sharply. This person is not worth jeopardizing your future. No, I'm not worth it, Gerard agreed. I'm just an extra in a train scene in the movie of your lives. Forgive me for going off script and pissing on your screenplay. Better my piss than the shit your professor is cramming down your elite throats. Mommy and Daddy actually pay for this brainwashing? Fucking pathetic. As Joaquin and James lunged toward him, he realized the train had pulled into a stop, 57th Street Station. Leaping to his feet, he scampered out of the car without another word. Howls of protest rising within the car went mute as the doors closed behind him. Gerard drew a breath. He knew his temper put him behind the 8-ball when he got stressed. This time he'd been lucky. Dismissing the encounter, he dashed to his meeting. Vesco was not in a welcoming mood after being forced to wait by someone who had begged for his time. He had no use for capricious, childish egoists on his roster and advised Lecomte of this as they sat down. Gerard absorbed the ear-boxing with smoldering humiliation. So what's your next move? The manager asked curtly. I mean, besides talking to someone like me. There's not much left to do other than talk to guys like you. We've been doing the rest already. That's why I'm here. He knew he sounded defensive. The subway clash had worked his nerves. Yes, I've seen you out there, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a business, and despite the cliched romance of pop stars living hard, no one gets ahead in this game until they prove they can operate professionally. He dashed off a couple cautionary tales of promising groups that flamed out without ever hitting their stride in the business. For us to work together, I need to believe in your dependability as much as your product's appeal. Blah, blah, blah. Not going well. It's all about my lateness. 15 lousy minutes, and it's all he can think about. Talk about ego. He tried to demonstrate positive engagement in the business being discussed, but his responses were a beat slow. Back on his heels, he knew he was presenting as sullen, but felt powerless to change his trajectory. He'd been defeated upon arrival, and they both knew it. We have the goods, Mr. Vesco. We're no angels, but we're committed, and we will deliver. Vesco nodded from a polite, non-committal distance. He doesn't believe. The meeting ended perfunctorily. Gerard reported the disappointing outcome to the band at rehearsal that evening. Lead singer Mustafa, he used no last name, was incredulous. Sounds like maybe a catastrophe de Lecomte. Did you go to the dark place, Gerard? We know what can happen when you go dark. If you guys don't trust me, then come to the fucking meetings. Why do you leave it to me? We could go together and charm them like the lovable early Beatles routine. Maybe that would close the deal. Yes, we're a band, agreed drummer Luke. We're in this together. Nom de Dieu, we have to be smart, insisted Mustafa. If numbers are discussed and we're all there, we'll fuck it up. Gerard's the only one who can talk through that stuff without giving everything away. I'm doing my part by staying away from the suits.